this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a project recipe, and we're going to do the collection that came out about a month ago for fur babies. And our fur baby in our house was always our puppy dog, so I'm choosing to go the dog route, but I understand and totally get that there are a lot of people that are cat people too, so I get that. I grew up with cats in my house, and but my husband is definitely a dog person, so we love and embrace the puppy dogs. So that's what we're going to do today, but you could easily tweak it and make it what you need it to be for your cat, for your purr baby. So let's check out what's in my workspace and we'll get started, okay? Alright, so this is my workspace for today, and as you can see, I have lots of cute papers out here, and the cute paws punch that came out with fur babies, and it's used in these borders that go up either side of the layout. And we are going to use two main pieces of paper and do some welding today, which is we haven't done in a while, and so that's going to be fun. And mainly we just use our trimmer other than the punch, so this should come together fairly quick and easily. So let me see here. We're gonna punch 12 paws, and I'm going to do my my accent color that I'm going to use to punch is going to be a pink color, because our family dog was a female, and if we were to ever get another puppy, I can't imagine doing anything differently there. So I'm going to just use some pink accents rather than blue. In the sample here, you can see that the accents are done in blue, but we're going to change that up a little bit. So as you can see, I've got some the cute stickers that go along with fur babies. I've got the paw punch, which is super fun, and if you didn't get it the first time around like I didn't, and hopefully you got it the second time around, I believe it has sold out again. So if you still don't have it, then make sure you submit a request or a suggestion to the Creative Memories product suggestions, and they will maybe consider doing a third run on that. But for right now, I think it's no longer available again. Hopefully you have it, and you can go ahead and use it for this layout. I also have this cute laser cut doghouse that we're going to use today, and a mat that says "Pause to Enjoy the Good Life," which is one of the mats in the mat pack that goes along with the fur babies collection, and then these cute little stickers. So we'll get to those when we get to embellishing, but anyway, I'm just going to set them over here. Alright, so I have several designer sheets of paper here that we're going to work with. First is this one that has the paw print on it and some very, very tiny little dots. We're going to use this as part of our base page, and then we're going to use this one that has a bunch of dog bones in a cute little pattern, and that's going to work with the paw print page to weld together to create our two base sheets. Then we're also going to use this chocolate brown page that has the even darker brown dogs all over it, and the chocolate brown with the dark polka dots on the back, and then some pink shimmer paper, and we're going to use that for our paw prints and some of our mats. And then this is just a scrap piece of white cardstock. It's about 1.5 inches wide. We're going to split that in half, and that's going to be our welding material. So I'll walk you through that when we get to that portion. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and swatch switch over to the cutting guide here. As you can see, the blue portion of our cutting guide there is going to be our base sheets. Now, in the instructions for this project recipe, it actually does not explain that you do need 2 pieces of paper to do the base sheets. You could just use 1 piece and build it right on your page, but if you're not building it right on your page, you are going to need 2 pieces of paper and you're going to need to weld them together to create the base sheet. You can see on the example that that's what they have done, but they did not put that in the instructions. Actually, it does say, I take that back, it does say use 2 matching designer papers for your base, but it doesn't really ever tell you how to weld those together. I'm going to show that to you, so you'll be able to make this from start to finish and know exactly what you're doing. Alright, so first we're going to start with the 2 base sheets, and we're going to grab the trimmer, and I'm going to go ahead and stack these with the paw print on the top, so that I can see where that paw print is and make sure I'm not cutting all the way through it. I need 5 inches for the right side and 7 inches for the left, and wouldn't you know that they made that paw print just right so that I can cut just to the right side of it and not cut through it. So isn't that lovely? It's perfect, like they had a plan or knew that some of us would do this. All right, so then I need my welding material, and I'm just going to cut that in half. So it's 1.5 inches wide. Each of these pieces, when I cut it in half, should be about 3/4 of an inch. And it doesn't have to be exact, but you know, my eyeball has to make it as close as possible. So there we go. There's our 2 pieces. Okay, now what we're going to do is align our papers the way we want them. And the reason I suggest that is because we need to make sure that that our paw print is in the right place for what we're planning. So we're going to put the paw print with the wide, so 1 narrow with 1 wide. It's 1 5-inch piece with 1 7-inch piece, which works out to be like that. But those are not in the right order because I want my paw print to be on the inside of the left side of the layout. So I need to make sure that I have that in the right spot in order to ensure that I can take that photo right there and move it up and allow for that paw print to be in that spot. So I'm going to move that photo to the top and allow the paw print to stay right there. You don't have to do it that way. If you're choosing to use other papers, then you can certainly lay your photos out any way you'd like. But this is the way I'm going to do it for this particular layout. And then I want the corresponding paper to move to the other side of the layout. So that's why those need to be in just that order. So you're going to flip it over and make sure your edges are exactly right up next to each other. And so adjust it however minutely you might need to. Then take your adhesive and run it across diagonally every 1.5 to 2 inches down the page. Just add about 3/4 of an inch or so of adhesive across. Okay, then you're going to take one of your strips for welding and you're going to place it right on top of the seam. Place the seam right at the halfway point, halfway in the middle of that 3/4 inch wide strip, and right on the edge, and just lay it right down on top of the other pieces that are gingerly adhered together, and rub it down right into that adhesive, and you are good to go. All right, Perfect. All right, so we're going to do the same thing with the other side. And whenever I weld paper together, I always try to make sure I give credit where credit is due. I learned this technique for welding from another Creative Memories advisor. Her name is Sherry Tilley, and she shared this with a group of advisors that I was a part of, and enabled us to learn this cool technique that has never failed and is super easy to me, much easier than every other thing that I have tried for welding two pieces together. All right, so we just put this piece right down on top of the seam, and voila, we have another whole 12-inch piece of paper good to go. But I need to turn it around. Perfect. All right. All right, so now we can go ahead and build our borders. So we're going to grab our, let's see, I'm organizing just a little bit here to get this all where I need it to be. So setting those bases up there for a second, we're going to go ahead and cut the rest of our cutting guide. So we're going to use, for designer paper number 2, which is represented by that yellow square in the upper right hand corner, we're going to use this chocolate dark brown paper with the dogs on it. And the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and cut 2 strips that are 2 1/4 inches by 12 inches. Now what you're going to notice is I cut it wrong. I cut it at 2 1/2 instead of 2 1/4, and it really needs to be at 2 1/4 so that it's the proper size, and so you can get everything out of that cutting guide that you need to get out of that cutting guide appropriately. So this is what I did. Here we go. I'm about to make my mistake. See, I'm going to cut that at 2 1/2, and as soon as I cut it I realize, oh no, that needs to be 2 1/4. See the pause? So this is what I end up doing. I end up going ahead and cutting an extra 1/4 inch off the side so that I can add it to the next piece. Okay, so now that wider strip is correct, that's 2 1/4 inches, and I've got that 1/4 inch strip that I just set to the side. Now I'm going to cut the next piece. I'm going to cut is the 2-inch piece that I'm going to actually add that 1/4 inch strip to, so that I can make another 2 1/4 inch strip. All right, so I'm going to pull this strip that I cast to the side, put it with this so that it stays together, because I really need that in order to make this work. So try not to make my mistake. Cut them at 2 1/4, 2 pieces at 2 1/4 by 12, and you won't have to worry about it. Now the next section is cut at 4 inches, and you're going to make 3 4-inch squares. So we're going to turn it horizontally and cut at 4 inches, and then cut at another 4 inches for those 3 mats, which I'm setting up there in the front so that they're out of the way but still able to find. Then we're going to cut 6 squares that are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. So I'm going to cut 2 strips that are 1 1/4 wide. I'm sorry, 1 3/4 inch wide. Here we go, 1 3/4 inch wide. And it should be, that should be, leave me with 1 3/4 of an inch. But if you are like me and sometimes your cuts, depending on whether you cut on the right side of the line or the left side of the line or whatever, you sometimes end up with this little teeny bit extra. So I just trim it off to make sure that my papers are 1 3/4 inch. I stack them on top, and now we're going to cut that into six squares. That'll give us 12 total, and they're going to be 1 3/4 inch square. So there's 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 2 more, 5, and 1 more for our last one. There we go, for 6. All right, and then those 2 last squares are just extra. Just let them hang out over on the side. All right, so these are going to be the squares that go underneath our punched paw prints. So we're just going to set those to the side, and we will get to them in a minute. And so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and get that piece of pink shimmer that we pulled out, because we're going to go ahead and cut a couple of mats and then punch those paw prints. So we're going to cut 2 pieces at 4 by 12. So there's 1, and here's the second one. Then we're going to stack those 2 on the left and go ahead and turn them horizontally, and we're going to cut those at 6 inches, and those will be mats for photos. And even though it doesn't call for 4, I just go ahead and leave all 4 of them together just in case. Now what we're going to do is put the trimmer away and grab the paw punch, and we're going to go ahead and punch. Now when I first punch this out, I've never used this punch before, and this particular punch has quite a bit of lubricant on it, and occasionally that does happen. The first couple times you use it, it has an exceptional amount of the oily lubricant in there, and it will transfer to your paper. There's just no way around that. I had so much that my paper actually got stuck inside, and so that paw print we won't use because it's got an excessive amount of oil on it, and you can see the oil. You can even see it from long distance. So I'm just priming it some more. Usually when I get one of our CM punches, I do that. I squeeze it together, I don't know, 8 or 10 times initially, and it just sort of spreads the lubricant around a bit and enables the punch to last longer, I think. I have less issues with my punches seizing, and seems to be very beneficial for me so far. Occasionally I still have border maker, usually it's border maker punches that will get locked up on me occasionally, but most of the time my punches do pretty well. So I flip my punch over when I'm doing an individual punch like this, because I can learn to better gauge how close I can put the punches together and without overlapping them. And then that way sometimes I'm able to conserve my paper a bit better and get more items punched from my paper. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does, and that's always nice when you have more than what you expect to get. So we need 12 paw prints, 6 for each side of our layout. And remember, at least one of those has too much oil on it. I think I discovered after I was looking at them and using them that there was another one that actually had quite a bit of residue on it as well. So I went ahead and tossed it to the side, which was fine. And we had plenty of extra ones, so I didn't worry about it too much. It was very easy to make that determination. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of those needed paw prints punched out here. Again, we need 12. It'll just take a second. This is a layout that goes together really quickly and would be really easily done with something else, a different theme. So if you enjoy this one, I would definitely recommend utilizing it in another layout in your album, because all you need is another individual decorative punch, and you can create a similar layout, maybe with flowers or with bugs, or pull out the bumblebee punch that we most of us got not too long ago and use that. So there's our paw prints. We are good to go, and it looks like we've got everything punched and cut, so we can go ahead and assemble our 2 pages. So here again are our base sheets, and we're going to start by taking one of those chocolate brown strips, the one that I miscut, and we're going to go ahead and place those on the outer edges of our layout. So they're going to go just like that, and then the other one will go on that side carefully so that those line up perfectly. Okay? All right, so I'm just going to grab my adhesive and we'll get these down. Actually, I think I was deliberating here whether to flip one of them or not flip one of them, to flip or not to flip. Because in the sample it shows one with the dogs up and one with the dots up. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to just do them both the same or if I wanted to follow the sample and do them alternating like this. And ultimately I decided to go ahead and and follow the sample that was done for us and go ahead and do one with the dark strip and the light squares and one with the light strip and the dark squares. So I just went ahead and decided to go ahead and lay these out to get a better idea. Sometimes this is helpful, I think, so before you start adhering things, so that you can get an idea what it's going to look like before you start gluing stuff down, and then you can change it once you've glued it down. Most of the time it's a difficult thing to switch it up, so this just kind of gave me an idea of whether this would work. Alright, so I think I decided I'm okay with them being a little bit, using the lighter strip on one side and the darker strip on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down. And I ran out of tape runner, so bear with me a second. We're going to swap out the tape runner for a refill real quick. And just like that, we are back in business. There we go. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this right to the corner so that there's no other bits of the paper underneath showing. Right on the edge. There we go. Now when I place these squares on, I'm only allowing about 1/8 of an inch between the bottom square and the edge, the bottom edge of the paper, but there's more like a 1/4 of an inch on the outer edges. So really you need about 1/4 of an inch between each of the boxes, but only 1/8 of an inch at the top and the bottom. If you try to do more than 1/8 of an inch at the top or the bottom, then you're not going to, your spacing is going to get kind of goofed up a bit. So whenever you're not sure, I always start by doing one at each end and then working my way up from the bottom to the top. And these are just very gingerly placed on there. They're not pressed down so that I can more easily lift them up and move them, because I did not use repositionable adhesive, which repositionable adhesive is highly recommended for this portion of a project like this. And I probably should have used it, but it didn't cross my mind for some reason. So I just used my permanent adhesive, and then I got here and realized, oh, that gap is really, really big. I think we need to adjust these. So essentially you need 1/4 of an inch between each of the boxes, 1/8 of an inch on the top, and 1/8 of an inch on the bottom. And that will give you the proper spacing for these squares. And I will get these all put on here, and then I will proceed to go ahead and put the paw prints on. Now you can put the paw prints on going straight up and down, or upside down, or sideways, however you want them. I decided that I wanted to go ahead and make them, every other one, go a different direction. So I did use my repositionable adhesive for this. That's kind of a no-brainer when you have something with holes in it like this paw print. I made the top one tilted to the right, then the next one's going to tilt to the left, and the right one will tilt back to the right. Sorry, the next one will tilt back to the right, and so forth. And then I tried to do the opposite on the opposite side when it came time to do the opposite side. And I'm just going to go ahead, and I will speed up the other side, but I want you to see how I fixed my mistake, so I'm not glossing over that. Okay, so that part is all done. Now we're going to do the other side. And the first thing we're going to do is put down that 1/4 inch strip so that we can get that right on the edge and make sure that it's going the right direction. There we go. perfect. I was really pleased with how this turned out, despite the fact that I had kind of goofed things up a bit. All right, so we're going to get this put down and then our squares put down just like on the other side, and I'm going to go ahead and make this faster so that you don't have to watch it all second by second. Okay? All right, so now we have both of our borders on the outside together. It's time to go ahead and put grab our mats and arrange those where we are going to want them. So I'm going to put one of the pink mats horizontally down here and vertically here, vertically down here. Now originally it looked something like that. So the vertical picture was covering the paw print, and the other one next to it was higher on the original layout, as you can see if you can see the sample that's up there. But we're going to do ours just a little differently because I want the paw print to show. I also want to use this laser dog house, which I think is super cute. And we're going to put one of the squares next to it. Now what we could do is go ahead and oh, I forgot, that square needs to go up there also, a square mat. And then we have one more square mat that I can put behind the dog house, and I think I'm going to go ahead and keep it that kind of caramel brown color so that the dog house stands out a little bit better. And then I have this cute mat that says pause to enjoy the good life, and it's really too big right there. I could raise those up just a little bit and then maybe just use the pink mat to kind of accent the upper left corner. That's a way of doing it. We could do that. Or CM has this thing where on the opposite side they will usually put something similar but change the size or change the location. So in this case, because it's printed on the bottom there, I could just trim that off and make it kind of a title for my layout. And so that's what I am deciding I want to do here. I'm just going to keep those photos at the same level. I'm going to trim off the pause to enjoy the good life, and I'm going to use that up there as kind of a title for the layout. And because I have that extra little bit of pink shimmer paper, I can go ahead and use that to mat this little title as well, which is kind of cute and a cool thing to do. It basically meant that I had to kind of adjust my borders. So I cut this at 3 1/4, and it allowed me to then cut the border piece from the pink at 3 1/2, and it worked just beautifully. But I went ahead and just adhered this to the pink mat that we had created, and then just cut around it to create the mat. There you go. So actually I think it was 3 1/4. Looked like it was 3 1/4. All right. So this is the way that the layout is going to look. I'm going to kind of scrunch these together a little bit to allow more space for that so that it's not right on the edge. And we're going to go ahead and get these adhered down here in just a second. I like lining those two pieces up so that there's an even amount of border between them and the bones paper. And so that's the way I'm going to go ahead and assemble this side. You notice I'm using my repositionable adhesive to adhere this on, and that was mostly because I was playing with, location of everything so much that I wasn't sure if I was going to have to pick it up and move it after I set it down. So I just wanted to make sure that it would be as easy as possible to do that. And the repositionable adhesive definitely allows for that, which is nice. So we're going to get this down, and then I'm going to grab some foam squares, and we're going to get the foam squares put on. I was noticing that square was just a little bit off, so I'm going to turn it, and by turning it, it was much better. It was just off by just enough that my eye was just crazy looking at it, so I just didn't like it at all. But I liked it much better after I turned it. So we're going to go ahead and add foam squares to this house so that it pops up a little bit off the paper, provides a little more dimension and a little bit of a shadow, just a tiny bit, and that will be perfect for what we're looking for. So taking off the little tabs to reveal that second side of stickiness. And now I'm going to go ahead and set that on there just slightly above the base of that mat and centered. Alright, so that side's done. We're just going to quickly get the other side adhered. Alright, now we're going to grab our sticker sheet and add some embellishments to this cute video. I'm going to first off make sure I have my foam squares, and then I'm going to add this cute little puppy dog. Our puppy dog that we had, her name was Carly, and she was a labradoodle, and she was not quite this color, but this little dog reminds me of her. She was actually very blonde, but had enough Labrador in her that she looked a little bit like this dog. So we're going to use him, and we're going to just sort of sneak his tail underneath so he looks like he's kind of in his doghouse peeking out. And there we go. I wish he stood out a little bit more from the background, but that's the way it works. In person, it's a little bit better. All right, so what else are we going to use? I don't think we need a whole lot more embellishing on this, but maybe something for that left-hand side of the page would be good. And so we're going to use this leash, and let's use the dog bone, and we're going to use, let's see, get this leash or the dog bone kind of attached to the leash. And then we're gonna find something that says something cute. Let's see here. This one says wet kisses, or wet nose kisses. And so we're gonna add that also onto the leash. And then we'll add some foam squares to the back, and we will be good to go. So I'm just trying to add them over the seams where possible, areas where the stickers are coming together, just to give them a little bit of reinforcement. And when I have a tiny little thing like this and I have to add 5 foam squares to it, it kind of bugs me, but you know, it is what it is. And I'd rather give it a foam square so that it stays off the paper than let it end up getting stuck to the paper, because it is a sticker. And without the foam square there, it will stick. So I'm not going to go ahead and add this right on top of the footprint because I want to see the footprint, but we'll put it probably right there, right above the footprint. And that'll work. So I'm going to I don't think I want to put it up there. I think I want to put it right there. And I'll just make sure that it's not going to interfere with photos in any of those mats when I put that down. All right. So there's lots of places that I could journal on this layout. I could journal inside the paw print, which would be cute. I could journal on the bone paper above or below. I could journal to the left of the Pause to Enjoy the Good Life. That's what I'm talking about here, is where I could be doing my journaling on the page. So lots of good opportunities for that. And I think that's plenty of embellishing because we've got lots of paw prints down the sides. So I think that's all I'm going to do. Let me know what you think about that layout. I love the laser doghouse. I really like the Pause to Enjoy the Good Life at the top. Very cute. And I think it came together well. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. And be sure you're subscribed to my channel so that you get all of my future videos and can see all the other videos that are already on my channel. Thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. You have a great day.